It's in Mirage here, and this is a wee kind of race highlights from a race I did recently for VRS Sprint around Suzuka in the GT3 class. First of all, just going to show you my fastest qualifying lap. It was 2 minute 0.6 seconds, so the best I'd ever done. So just walking through the lap, I brake just about the orange marker at the side there, and I come down to 4th, kind of just trying without accelerating too much till I hit this apex here and drop into 2nd. And then going along here, I tend to go into 4th, try and take a wee bit of curb before dropping back to 3rd as we continue through the S's. Staying in 3rd, not really braking from this point on, but I will dab the brakes here, sometimes drop to 2nd to get a wee bit more turn in before going back up to 3rd. Small lift, and then just try and get on the throttle before I reach the end of the rumble strip on the left hand side. Coming along here just for the 50 metres, I'll again dab the brakes, try and take quite a lot of curb and get on the power as soon as possible to settle the car before braking and come down 2nd there. Again, you can take quite a lot of the inside corner there. Coming around the corner just for the main block of shadow, I'll brake and then I come down to 1st gear and again just trying to get on the throttle as soon as possible. Not always very consistent at that corner, but I will always try my best to just get on it early. So coming around here up to Spoon, there's a wee kind of track on the side there, and we're going to brake there, come down to 4th and then 3rd as we reach the apex. Wee bit of acceleration. I will dab the brakes before coming 2nd, wait till the car's turned in and then try and get on the power up to maximum as soon as possible. Now coming up to 130R, I brake around about 75 metres, and by brake I mean don't brake but just lift. Try and clip the curb and I should be back on throttle at the point I'm hitting the apex, and then coming down here braking about the 100 metre board, coming down into 1st gear as we enter the last chicane, and we're going to again take quite a bit of the curbs on both the right hand side then on the left. And that's me coming over the line, 2 minutes 0.6 seconds, which is the best I'd ever done, first time in the 2 minutes, so yeah, it got me P10. It was a 1550 strength of field, and at the time I was basically early 1400s in terms of, well, my IR. So unfortunately I brake just before the lead driver decides to go, so it gives me a back run on here for the first lap. But yeah, I'm going to lose a position into the first corner, so I'm going to alongside, tiny wee tap. Not that I did anything wrong, but you can actually see there a couple of cars go off. So although I gained 2 places from that, I lost the one to the guy there who just gave me a small dink as we went through the first corner. And yeah, I then go on to actually make things slightly worse for myself here as we come to the end of S's, and I just seemed to lose it. And then I'd start losing again. I don't know if I'd cooked the tyres. I certainly know the tyres are cold on the kind of first lap, but that didn't feel cold so much as I just made a mistake. And I don't really know how, but there's 3 cars off as we enter Digner 1. And it allows me, actually, obviously the guy in front had to lift, and it allows me to get back on to Stuart there. So, in fact, is it Stuart? Hard to see actually from the board at the side. Yeah, it's Stuart. So he doesn't get a great run through the hairpin, and that's me really onto the back of him now. And the other thing you're going to see here is he doesn't get a great run through Spoon either. So I'm going to get alongside him just shortly after Spoon, but I shouldn't have done it. I just shouldn't have done it. It kind of doesn't mess up my race, to be honest, but it doesn't put me in an ideal position. So although he did get the jump on me into the first corner, I actually do think I could have been faster than him. So I don't know why I do this. I really shouldn't have bothered. But I do kind of go alongside him here. And then I just got worried about hitting him and lost a lot of speed. And as you can see there, someone's just gone flying past me, and my speed was so down that Daniel also gets past me as well. In fact, Exceli got past Stuart as well in front of me. So yeah, I started 10th, got up to 9th. In fact, did I go up to 9th? No, I probably was about 6th at one point just because of other people, but then lost a couple of positions there, so back to 9th at this point. So coming round now onto the second lap. I'm just going to sort of fly through it because you're going to see Alexandru behind. I didn't think I was that far off in the pace, but he's starting to catch. In fact, I remember what it was now. I'd caught up with the cars in front who possibly were battling a bit, and it caused me to be slower than I would like to have been, and equally allowed Alexandru behind to actually catch up more than I'd have liked as well. So get through here okay, just following them, and honestly 8th, it's a good position. This is a 1550 lobby. In fact, no, 1600. So this was a strong field, and I was probably actually 1511. But I go a wee bit deep here, but I mean it was marginal, and Alexandru decides to dive up the inside for some reason. So I was a bit annoyed and wasn't paying attention, and I reverse here and clip a car, so 100% my fault there. But the initial hit, he absolutely should not have gone for that. And you can actually see, excuse, I forgot to turn off all the overlays from Race Labs, but he shouldn't have gone. That wasn't a move. At that point I get hit in the side. That wasn't my fault, but this is the one here where I kind of back up and give that guy a wee bash there when I shouldn't have. So I'm going to lose quite a few places out of this, unfortunately. In fact, is that 4? I think it was about 4 places. But you can see there, like up to 13th is ahead, so if I don't lose any more places, I'm going to be 13th from 8th. So that's actually a 5-place drop, which is disappointing, to be honest. So we're going to cross the line here and we'll actually see where I... Yep, 13th as expected. So that was a kind of disappointing moment during the race for me. But kind of fast forwarding, I actually caught back up with Jonas in 12th, and just kind of fast forwarding for a wee bit, but as we exit the deadeners we'll go back to kind of normal 1x speed. And you can actually also see at this point I had 5x, which is really annoying because I just shouldn't have had any. But I've caught up a lot here. Looking back at this when I sort of was just chopping up this before doing my audio track on top of it, I think he must have had damage, because that was a lot of gap to catch up so quickly. And then Spoon, he's just braking a bit much, and I get a decent run here again, but it's nothing groundbreaking. We're like 0.4 seconds, and in fact we're still 0.4 seconds, so in terms of straight line speeds we are equivalent. But watch how he brakes here. You shouldn't brake in that corner, and in fact the guy behind as well, who I'm not even blaming for this, he wasn't expecting it, because I wasn't expecting it. Like you shouldn't have had to brake. I actually tapped him, which I didn't know during it, but I get scalped by the guy behind and nudged into the wall. So yeah, I really don't know what was going on there. I kind of did quite a bit of kind of replaying this because I was a bit annoyed by it, but I seem to have forgot to fix it, and I can't be bothered fixing it now. So yeah, and again, apologies. Got all the kind of Race Labs information, flags and positions and whatnot on, and it's just kind of blocking some of the views. But yeah, I do not know what he was playing at. It was just, that's too slow. Way too slow. So I had to bail out of it. Thought I'd done quite a good job backing out of it, but then get absolutely scalped by the guy behind. He possibly should have had a wee bit better awareness, but yeah, he wasn't expecting it and I wasn't expecting it. So that's me now, because that guy went into the back of me, up to 9x. So exactly going great just now. But again, that's me like 4.75 seconds behind Jonas, for example. And you're going to see Jonas, I think, is jumped here by manual if somebody spins off at the side. But I mean, look at that. Already back up to like a second of Jonas within half to 3/4 of a lap. It's just, you kind of have to say damage, but at the same time, like on the streets, it's not that different. But again, coming through 130R, I've just absolutely caught up on him. As you can see there, Daniel off at the side there. He's obviously made a mistake into the final chicane. But when I hit the straights, 0.3 seconds, it just doesn't change. So certainly it doesn't appear to be engine damage. I don't really know of the game giving you a lot for brakes damage or anything. I just don't know what's going on with them, to be perfectly honest. But regardless, we're going to keep chasing them down, and we're going to come up to, personally, and I mean, it's a bit hard, it's maybe a bit excessive, sorry to say that this is one of my greatest overtakes ever, especially considering this was a guy I caught up almost 5 seconds in half a lap, but gloss over that, I think it's still quite impressive. So I'm going to come up to here into the first of the Degners, and he brakes, and again I even brake a wee bit more than normal, but I just managed to avoid his back of his car before we enter the Degner 2, and I get the run on him. And as I say, for me, it was kind of awesome, to be honest. Yeah, I was pretty chuffed with that. It is, regardless of the quality driver, it was a bit of a move that I wasn't actually planning for, it just kind of happened. So you can see here from another angle, we get close, but we do not actually touch through Degner 2. And I get to run all the way up to the hairpin, and just because I'm so proud of it, we're going to see it from last angle. And yeah, real close, but I managed to pull it off. And not only that, but from these angles you also get to see my lovely car livery, and it's kind of semi-matte grey silver that I'm quite proud of. So yeah, moving on, we are at this point chasing down Manuel Wacker, and in fact no we're not, we're chasing down Dave Buckingham. So as you can see, I've got the relative box on iRacing down the bottom as you can pass David Buckingham, who basically binned it through 130R, and there's a couple of cars ahead of us, but there's really not too much to be seen here. I do kind of catch them up a wee bit, and you can see some people in the pits as we go across the line again. Now we're about 11 laps through what the game is predicting to be about 19, but we're going to jump on and jump to about 15 laps in. And the reason is this is the fastest lap that I did, lap 16. So again, just a kind of brief mention, like I'd been racing during the week and my times were generally, if I get into the 2s I was quite happy. Generally I was doing 202 point second half of the second and to the 203s, but in this race I was actually getting 201s, and this is my best lap, though I can't 100% remember exactly what it was. I think it was a 201.9, but yeah, I was really quite pleased with it because actually I've pitted by this point and I actually had optionals repairs, which means I was actually carrying damage. So if I'm carrying damage, then I've got to assume I'm a wee bit slower than I could be. Yeah, I'm still getting into the 201s. So yeah, I was really quite happy with how this was going. But just while we're kind of running through this lap, actually, just to mention, I use Race Labs, but you can also see I've got the relative box on because I don't run in a Windows mode within iRacing, so Race Labs is purely in the recording, I don't see it. But Race Labs tends to be a bit, it just doesn't always quite match. As I say, positions, relative boxes, they're not always consistent in matching what iRacing says it is. But I still think they look pretty good, and you can actually see here at the moment it's predicting my iRating will go up by 33 on the top left hand box. So yeah, that was a goal just to see if I could get it up. I'd just breached 1.5k iRating, and I was just trying to keep it above 1.5. I've always kind of put more emphasis on my SR, but I'm now just trying to get my iRating up, and my SR's tanking recently just because of incidents with other drivers. But you can see here as we cross the line, I do a 201.89, so that's not too bad. And at this point I'm up to 9th. Now I'd actually been chasing down Gunter ahead of me for laps, to be honest. and I was doing quite a good job of it, but I knew I was never going to actually make it. I think the gap started off maybe about 4 to 5 seconds, and I'd got it down to below 2, but even if I caught him this lap, overtaking is another ball game. So yeah, I was just going to hopefully go into the back of him, and maybe the wee bit of pressure would make him make a mistake, but it was always going to be a long shot. This is the last lap, and the other thing is, like, I was catching him a bit more this lap. In fact, I think I've gained 0.6 seconds, 0.8 seconds since the start of this lap. But there's always that thing of, he knows it's the last lap, he knows he's got a bit of a buffer, he's probably just taking it a wee bit easy. So yeah, it's quite nice though. I'm down to like 1.1 seconds now. I should be able to, if my kind of continuation of the pace that I'd had before, I should be able to get it under a second, and I can't 100% remember if I did, but I'd like to think I did anyway. So yeah, I did a 2:03 last lap, and my tyres are starting to go off at this point, so I wasn't as quick as I would otherwise have liked. But that's it, down to a second now as we come into 130R. Again, I don't brake. I was caught out. I don't know why you brake on 130R, but you can see I get quite close to the back of him. But again, very different from catching up with somebody that's probably just playing it safe onto the last lap and actually getting an overtake in. I did get it down to 0.8 seconds. And yeah, that was it. I got P9. And P9 is not bad. Only one place up from the start, but considering I had had 2 incidents, 2 spins, it's really not too bad. I'm quite pleased with that. So finished P9, and as you'll see in a wee second, my safety rating took another hit, as it seems want to do just now, down to 3.26. I've lost about 1 plus in the last race, so yeah, but my rating did go up about 40, so overall pretty happy with how this went. And yeah, unfortunately next week Bathurst, not looking forward to that at all, but might post some videos on that if I'm enjoying it, so might speak to you then. Bye.